Hey, how do I deal? How do I deal with wanting to be all of the things I want to be and not being those things ultimately? And like looking back and seeing all of the time passing and knowing nothing's really changed and you haven't really accomplished all of the things. Like, for example, I'm someone who just wants to get into books and reading and like doing all of that for fun so badly. I've listened to a portion of The Secret History, the audiobook, because I didn't buy it, but and this was years ago before I understood anything, and it took me so long to listen to a few hours into this audiobook, and I didn't, finish it obviously. But I was very interested in it and I want to understand it and I want to understand Greek mythology and stuff and I want to know about these things the same way I want to understand the Bible and I really want to read the Bible and actually understand it from a completely unbiased perspective because, like, obviously I do have bias in regards to religion, as everyone has bias in regards to everything ever. And my bias with religion is, don't think so. That's my bias. I'm probably going to end up, if I read the Bible, it'll probably end up looking at a lot of things through that lens. But we know that I'm not opposed, right? Like maybe right now, 2025, me is opposed, to be honest, and not convinced by anything that I've heard about the Bible or anything that I've been taught about the Bible or Christianity, etc. Um, but like there has been a version of me in the past where I've been like, but hold on now, what about this other thing? What about the divinity of friendship, for example? What about the the couple of times I feel like I've seen Jesus, not literally in front of me, but where I've kind of had a internal vision, if you want to call it that, of like, or feeling rather of like welcomeness and openness and discovery and realization. What's it called? What do they actually call it? Revelation, if you will. Where I'm like, yeah, that's like him. like and he's like smiling at me and like he's like, bruh, let me take your hand. Like two times in my life I've had that. First one was like, this feels like God. Second one was like, this feels like Jesus, right? But now what do I do to explain those? Probably just some sort of psychological phenomenon. Like, genuinely, I look at the second one and I'm like, yeah, I was feeling in my feels. And I feel like this explains a lot of why people, maybe came up with religion in the first place because, they had some sort of feeling. But then it's also like, well, why do we have that feeling in the first place? Evolutionarily, why does that make sense? But I do very much believe in evolution. Do I know why I believe in evolution? Because it seems quite logical. But then it's also like, if I'm not certain about something and I kind of choose to believe one thing over the other, like, well, because the things that I've seen that argue for evolution have been more convincing to me than the things that I've seen that argue for a Christian worldview of like Adam and Eve or there on the seventh day there was light. I don't actually know. This is why I want to read the Bible so I can probably have these conversations because I have my opinions and my beliefs, but they're very much not backed up by like quotes or deep understanding, right? And the Bible is a library of many different books that were written at many different times. Bible literally means biblioteca, which is library, but biblia, I don't remember what library is in Latin, but Bible, library, it's all, that's the linguistic, like, and this is this too, like, I want to know more about linguistics. I want to read more non-fiction I'm finding, and then also more fiction as well, like more creative writing, but then the things that blend those two, like, I just want to know all of these things. I want to look into these things. I want more curiosity about these things. And I just, like, when it comes to my day to day, my habits just take the reins. I am really a fucking horse galloping along and my habits are on the back, and sometimes I'm like, nay, nay, get off me, fiend. And then something else hops on for a bit that'll like literally almost impossibly force me to pick up a book and read it, and maybe I'll comprehend what I'm reading. Do I need ADHD medication? Do I need to get diagnosed with ADHD to get ADHD medication to do the things that I want to do? Here's the thing. A member of my family recently got diagnosed with ADHD and has been medicated, and she now reads a lot. This is a person who's never read. I've never known this person to read. And now she churns through a book a week. And I'm like in awe. I'm like, what? You are more of like, can't focus on reading, doesn't enjoy reading than I am, and you're out here reading a book every week? What's going on? I want that to be me. Do I need to get medicated? Am I actually ADHD? And is it actually debilitating me? Debilitating me? Disabilitating me. Debilitating. Is it actually inhibiting me from like reaching the potential that I want to reach and that I desire to reach? I think it is. And many people in my life think that I am ADHD. But it's also almost like there's too many people now, right? If another one comes out, like, hey guys, guess who's ADHD? Like, I know that's actually a nothing reason to not get diagnosed with ADHD because everyone else in your life is also ADHD is really stupid. Maybe the reason why everyone else in your life is ADHD is because you are also ADHD and you're drawn to those people. Mind-blowing. But then it's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, if I told anyone from my high school that I was having these thoughts, they'd be like, Clara, you are no, this is actually what they did say when I told them I was having these thoughts. One person was like, Clara, you are the most focused person I've ever seen in my entire life. This is a friend who does have ADHD. And she's basically like, there's no way you have ADHD. Most people I talk to are like, would say I'm more likely to be autistic than ADHD. But I think it's flipped around, but I think it's also both. But it's just like, is it though? Or is it just the way that the internet works and makes you think that you have every diagnosis? Do you remember, like, I think 5 years ago, maybe more like 7 years ago, like when I first started going on the internet, the thing was depression. And I'm not saying this that no one has depression, but I'm talking like people would, trigger warning, people would be on their Instagram stories in grade 7 showing off their SH scars, and people would be on their stories and posting about how sad they were and how depressed they were. And I'm not saying this is like invalidating those feelings. Like, I think in grade 7 we're all a bit, how you going with, like, you know, how sad we all are and stuff. But I'm just saying it's like an interesting phenomenon that now it's like autism and ADHD is like the hot topic, I guess. The thing that not like everyone has it now and everyone had depression back then, but back then people would talk more about depression and now we talk about ADHD and autism. And obviously, like, they're different. Like, one, like, depression is not the same. It's not a parallel so much as to say, there's a saying that I was looking to throw in that it just didn't work. You know, like, depression is a mental illness. ADHD and autism are cognitive, like, functions. Can you tell I'm not a psychologist? Can you tell I'm 20 with no degree in anything and I'm hardly educated? And the education that I have on these topics is YouTube. And I don't read books. There you go. So that gives you an incentive to not cite me in your university article. Stop doing that. I'm just kidding, no one's doing that. Let's take a breather. And then I think back to when I was a kid. Okay, how did this turn into reasons why Clara has ADHD? It checks out. And does it also have genetic linkages? Because that also makes sense. That also makes sense, actually. It does, because anytime I've, like, said, I think I have ADHD to, like, someone, they've been like, does anyone in your family have ADHD? And at the time, no one in my family was goddamn diagnosed. So I was like, I don't know. Okay, can we go back to, like, theism and stuff? I want to know things. There's this internal curiosity that just needs to, like, get out and, like, actually find the drive to do the things. But then there's also the parts of me that want to read and consume, but the parts of me that want to create and make. Like, I want to write, I want to film, I want to edit, I want to do all of these things, but then I also want to consume other things. And so what happens? This gives me the illusion of both, of creating and consuming. Obviously, I am consuming on there. We're not going to call Instagram stories creating, but it's the illusion, right? Of, like, creating, like, something that's, like, worthwhile. But then writing, Like I write in my journal, but like not much. And it's also like, that's not going anywhere. Like I want to create something, I want to be working towards something bigger than like a recount of my day, you know, something bigger than a recount of how I'm feeling at the moment. Or I also just want to read literature. I just want to write things and create. But then it's also like, how do I put so much time and love into something like, so yeah, so I create Instagram stories and I consume. What are the last few things that I consumed? I watched a Brittany Broski video, and that's the thing which drove me to want to consume more, but I didn't really learn much from it. I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, it's a good video. It's called I Reject Heaven and Hell. It's boring. She just uploaded it today. It's the 13th of October. It's definitely not. It's the 14th of October. Okay. But yeah, she basically talked about things I didn't really understand, and not in a way that I was learning anything, but she was like, I'm really obsessed with this, you should go and research this, which is like what she does, and like that's fine. And I do learn things from Brittany sometimes, but sometimes I'm just like, I don't know why I watched this video. And it kind of, the video kind of made me feel bad. And this isn't me dogging on Brittany Broski, by the way. I love her, and I think she's the one who's inspiring this, like, oh my god, I want to like consume good healthy things, you know, like not junk. Basically, I want to consume the cool stuff. But then it's also like that delves into an interesting philosophical question of what we consider to be like healthy content. I can't think of the right word. Like healthy content versus junk content. Like I wonder if we went back in time, like 100 and, I don't know, maybe 1,000 years, and looked at the content that they were looking at back then. Did they think that that was junk, or did they think that was like, and I'm talking about the things that we look back on now and like praise to such a high standard because it's like historical and it's old. But if we went back then and it's like, well, was that actually just their brain rot? Like, will they be looking at our brain rot now with like historical, like, oh my god, and maybe they will be, because they'll be like, analyzing it from like a contextual sort, like looking at it through a different lens than we're looking at it. Like they're looking at it through a contextual analysis of like how we experience the world and like what was going on psychologically for us, whereas we look at the brain rot content like 6'7", 6'7", 6'7". That's like the difference perchance. So maybe that's like applicable to like what they would like, what the lens we're looking at it versus the lens they were looking at it through. I don't know. Like, I feel like there is a vastness inside of me that needs to be filled. And there's this yearning for like connection with like literature or history or like something. Like I just want to feel like I'm like I'm learning and like I'm actually have so many questions about things. Like I want to be in a book club. I want to be kept up, because I often feel like I experience life as if I'm kind of unsure and just like winging it and waiting for everything to come crumbling around me, because I'm like, I've just been holding things up like this, where I really want to like have like a strong foundation for my understanding of things. But I also know that like if I do get a stronger understanding of things, then I'm just gonna have more questions and feel more like, but I want that. I want that. I wanna, this like the things that I'm interested in, I wanna actually have an idea about. Like theism. I'm so interested in that, in a way that I wanna understand it. I wanna read the Bible so I can be taken seriously if I wanna refute it. So the habits that take the reins is just my phone and all the content I consume. I think we've already gone over this, but it's okay. What else have I consumed on here? Literally scrolling on Instagram. It is the stupidest thing. Instagram does not want me. I keep going on Instagram and it's like, okay, here's your content. Oh my god. Here's your content. Oh my god. Yeah, I cannot believe you're looking at this right now. I can't actually believe you're looking at this right now. Like, that's how Instagram thinks of me. And I just need to leave it alone. I actually need to leave it alone. I need to stop opening my DMs like... No one said anything. Wow. I need to stop looking at my own story until I die. Stop it right now. Here's the thing, right? It would probably take an equal amount of energy to go on Instagram than it would to open a book. But for some reason, there's so much of a wall with opening a book than like opening Instagram. Not for some reason, because of the dopamine, of course, which gets me back to ADHD medication, because it's all about dopamine, right? Dopamine farming, literally what it's called. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Maladaptive dopamine farming. Everyone start taking notes. But like, this is the thing, like, I'm so interested in psychology. I'm so interested in, filmmaking, editing, but I still don't know so much about these things. My current editing is pretty ass, to be honest. Like, it's not anywhere near anything I want to be able to get to. It's not a natural talent of mine, but it's something I really want to work hard at to get better at because I really enjoy it. Maladaptive dopamine farming. Okay, everyone, maladaptive. Let's start with some definitions. Maladaptive is anything that's basically just not helpful. A thing that you do that is not actually very helpful. A thing that you do to gain something, but it's actually doing more harm than good. For example, maladaptive daydreaming, you might have heard of it, is when you daydream. I actually don't know what this means. I'm literally going off of vibes and what I think it means and what I'm like kind of pulling sources of like things that I think I remember hearing about it. So again, don't be sourcing me. Don't be citing me. Okay? Basically, it's when you are daydreaming about a certain different situation that's alternate from reality to escape reality, and it's maladaptive because it's not actually very useful in the long run. Another maladaptive thing might be, I'm trying to think of an example that isn't food related because I hate just bringing everything back to food. We don't need to be thinking about food. We already think about food too much. We're in a different kind of food crisis. The whole thing, throughout history, our whole thing has been there is not enough food and famine, and we're all like, don't get me wrong, that's still a very big issue that's in many different parts of the world, but when we're talking about like the Western world, I guess, there's too much food. There's a surplus, right? There's excess, and we don't know what to do about that because as humans, we have evolved to gather and hunt as many calories as possible and to maintain those calories within us because we'd have to be running for a very long time to chase down our prey, and we'd have to evolve to hold all of the calories in us and not burn. I can actually cite sources for this information. And are they both YouTube videos? Yes. But it's Hank Green from Crash Course and it's Kurzgesagt. So it's like definitely true. My point at the end of the day, we think too much about food, and for good reason, because it's a very new issue that we don't have heaps of research on, the fact that there's too much food. And not too long ago, it wasn't too long ago that people were literally starving and they couldn't even imagine there being too much food. So this is like very new to humanity. It's like too much food. So obviously we're all a bit, food makes everyone anxious. And so that's why I don't want to use like a, example of maladaptive stuff with food. Well, I found some other examples like substance abuse, right? It's a thing we do to cope. Maladaptive coping mechanism. It's something we do to cope with something that isn't actually a useful way to cope with it, like substance abuse. Let me read out some more examples. SH, aggression, passive aggressive behavior, compulsive behavior, daydreaming, rumination is a thought, like when you go over something over and over and over and over and over again, it's actually maladaptive, it's not helping you. Procrastinating, the list goes on. There's many examples of maladaptive activities. Dopamine. Some people might not know what dopamine is. Dopamine is a hormone. This is the thing. I want to know more about this. I'm really interested in hormones. I'm really, really, really interested in hormones, but I haven't read a single snippet of anything. The only things I know about it is like from therapy and from, I don't know, researching on the internet, like listening to podcasts or like, actually I did listen to like quite a long podcast about hormones where an expert was talking. So, I'm like, I gotta know everything now. No, but that was, the podcast, by the way, was called The Imperfects. I love that podcast. It's just like 3 Australian blokes chatting it up about their feelings, and I love them. They're like they're my podcast dads. I've got my YouTube dads, which is cinema therapy. Okay, my YouTube dads is Jonathan Decker and Alan Seawright, who are my Mormon therapy dads on YouTube, and they're my dads. I'm also not gonna act like I listen to podcasts a lot. Like when it comes down to it, like I have my interests that I'm like, this is the thing that I'm interested in. But then when it comes to like most of my free time, I'm listening to bloody Charlie XCX. Okay, that was just like a couple of days ago. I was listening to that. What do I listen to all the time? Here you go. There's your answer. First thing I open my phone to. That is Solana Scissor. I forgot her like actual name. Oh my god, I just had like a week where I was obsessed with jazz and classical music, and that's all I wanted to listen to for my entire life. I feel like I've been listening to a very mix of things. Like I haven't really been listening to one artist like I usually kind of do. Actually, that's a lie. I really don't just listen to one artist at all. I listened to the entire soundtrack of Tangled and then watched the movie. Great movie. Love that shit so much. It's just so whimsical. But you gotta skip the first part of it. You gotta skip when they literally spoil the entire movie. You just gotta skip over that part and just start when she's talking to the bloody frog chameleon on her windowsill. Just start from there and it's good. Oh, I'm listening to a lot of Lorde, of course. I'm listening to a lot of Billie Eilish as well. We're getting back. She's back. Wildflower? Well, you'll know I've been listening to Wildflower. You'll know I've been playing Wildflower. Some Sade, some not really any 21 Pilots at the moment. This is the thing with 21 Pilots, okay? It'll be like I don't listen to them and then I'll listen to them for a day and then I'll stop listening to them and then I'll listen to them for like an entire month straight and then I won't listen to them for like the rest of the year. And then suddenly they're in my top 3 on Spotify at the end of not a lot of FK Twigs, but like also a lot of FK Twigs, you know, like Noah Khan always comes back on. You can see the Brat, right? Yeah, there you go. The entire soundtrack of How to Train Your Dragon. Yeah, that's literally it. I just want to read. Anyway, we didn't actually get into this. What is dopamine? How the fuck? I didn't even like come up with even a slight answer. Let's just look up. I can't be bothered to. So dopamine is a neurotransmitter. Is it not a hormone? Or is that the same thing? That plays a role as a chemical messenger in the brain, impacting movement, pleasure, motivation, and learning. It's often associated with the feel-good aspect of the brain's reward system, and it's more fundamentally about an anticipation and motivation for a reward than the feeling itself. Wow! Stop reading AI. Clara, why the hell are you reading AI? Why am I reading the AI? What happened to boycotting AI? Let's read from actual healthdirect.gov.au. What is the role of dopamine? Acts on areas of the brain to give you feelings of pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation. Also has a role in play in controlling memory, mood, sleep, learning, concentration, movement, and other bodily functions. When you feel good, you achieve something or do something fun. It's because you have an increase of dopamine in the brain. Sometimes you might start wanting to feel more of this dopamine reward, which is how dopamine is involved in addiction, which is called maladaptive dopamine farming. This is what I'm saying, and it's really common in ADHD. Coming full circle. This is why I was talking about this, because it's so linked to ADHD. Because in ADHD, so it's got a big role in emotional regulation, and ADHD is a lot to do with emotional regulation, right? A lot to do with not knowing how to regulate and stuff. Like it impacts that. Just because you can't emotionally regulate doesn't mean you don't have ADHD, but if you have ADHD, you might have a harder time emotionally regulating. How low dopamine levels link to ADHD? Interesting. Research suggests that ADHD and low dopamine levels are linked. Essentially, the way dopamine works and interacts with receptors in the brain may differ in ADHDers compared to non-ADHDers. Can increasing dopamine levels help ADHD? This is the question. This is the question we've been trying to solve ourselves by maladaptive dopamine farming. Do you know what's a really interesting part, like one thing that's interesting that ADHDers do as dopamine farming and as emotional regulation is starting fights and fighting with people and getting angry at each other just for a dopamine hit? Mind-blowing. Not that I've ever really experienced that personally. I feel like I don't do that, but I think maybe if I did, I'd get a lot of my chest. I think maybe a lot of the time I want to do that, but I withhold because society. ADHD and dopamine deficiency are linked, so it's possible that increasing dopamine levels can help reduce ADHD symptoms. Most widely used ADHD medications work by increasing dopamine levels in the brain. Wait, I'm learning so much. For instance, methylphenidate blocks methadone That actually says dopamine, not methadone. Dopamine blocks dopamine transporters in the brain. This prevents nerve cells from taking dopamine back up and raises dopamine levels. Oh my god. These medications are shown to be effective in helping with symptoms in adult ADHDers. So this could suggest that increasing dopamine levels is a promising strategy for improving ADHD symptoms. I'm still learning so much right now. How to increase dopamine naturally. Apart from ADHD medications, there are some non-medical methods you can try to boost dopamine levels. Of course, everyone will respond differently, blah, 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 blah. Diet changes. You may already know that your diet plays a huge role in helping you maintain a healthy body and mind, but what's even more interesting is that it might even impact the chemical messages in your brain, including dopamine. Let's go back to we think about food too much, and this is probably just going to cause more anxiety than not for people. Anxiety, panic, stress, whatever you want to call it. So let's skip on the diet changes, because how much of our diet are we really in control of? If we really think about it, if we really think about the socioeconomic status we grew up in, the family we grew up in, the ideologies around food that were fed to us as kids, like there are so many things that impact the way you eat and the way that you do it, as the reasons that you do it, like either for like nutrition or for like status or for, you know, coping, maladaptive dopamine farming, for example, or coping mechanisms. Like the way you view food is very complicated, and it's not your fault if you're having a hard time with it, just so you know. It's not your fault, and I hold compassion with you. Very much so. Exercise. According to research, exercise is a promising way to boost dopamine levels naturally. This is very true. If I do yoga in the morning, I feel more sharp, I feel more energized, I feel more ready for the day, I feel like a real person, and of course, I don't do it every day. I very rarely do it. Because dopamine likes me to stay in my bed and scroll. The cycle. Do you see the cycle? How to ease ADHD? Exercise. Okay, so what's the step before that so I can ease the ADHD so I can do exercise? What's the step one? Because, more studies are needed to determine which types, duration, and intensity of exercise are most effective for boosting dopamine, but so far research has found that exercising itself carries far more weight than how you do it. Interesting. So as long as you find the exercise enjoyable, go for it. That's so true, because I find yoga really enjoyable. Running, not so much. Walking, also not as much as I used to. I used to love walking, and now I kind of feel a bit aimless. I almost think I enjoy running more psychologically than walking. Like when I walk, I feel a little bit ruminant and a little bit, no, but if I get to thinking and walking, I can just solve my whole life, like, if I just walk, to be honest. If I just walk, I could literally just like realize how amazing and like hopeful my life is if I just go on a walk and think for a bit without music or with music. I don't know, but I also started here when I'd go on runs, which wasn't actually that often, to be honest, but when I would go on runs, I wouldn't go with music because I found music kind of slowed me down a bit and made me panic more, where I really needed to relax and have a very steady breathing rhythm while I was running, and I found that really good. I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed going on my runs. Fucking feel so good after you go on a run. But also not like, oh my god, you just feel amazing after a run. You go on a run, you come back and you're like, yeah, okay, that was good. All right, nice. So that's me telling you, go on runs and not have like the expectation of like your life is just like gonna be solving itself after you go on a run, and your life is horrible right now because you haven't gone on a run. That's what I'm saying. Like we think about things in such a backwards like way that's just not really useful for anyone in such a like a panicked, irrational sort of like very like extremist way we kind of think about like health and well-being. I feel like we've started to approach well-being and health in such an extremist way of like, have to give up my soul for these affirmations in the morning, and if I give up my soul for the affirmations in the morning, I will reach the pivotal of existence. The pinnacle of existence. Pivotal of existence. Wow, that's a knee slapper. So as long as you find exercise enjoyable, go for it. Doing a workout routines that you find fun and entertaining can make building the habit of exercise much easier. That's true. Fortunately, it's true. But I basically enjoy yoga over everything else because it makes me feel good and it makes my back hurt less. Literally, the only reason I go on the internet most of the time is to text.
I just love sending a sneaky DM. I just love messaging. I just love responding to little tiny word boxes on my phone with little tiny useless pieces of information that don't really matter that much, that mean the world to me in the moment. And I'm like, oh my god, that's so funny, isn't it? It's so funny. Really scratches that part of my brain that requires it. Sorry, I'm being like really strange right now. I'm really sorry. Can you tell I'm like I haven't like been able to express myself in like a few days. I haven't been able to express myself in a few days, so like it's going all out now. We're going all out now. Am I like is this autism or is this ADHD or is this being me? Is this just me being myself? What if it was just us all being ourselves? What happens if I have too much or too little dopamine? Having too much or too little dopamine in some parts of the brain are linked to some mental illnesses, including depression, schizophrenia, and psychosis. Hold on, I just want to like sidetrack. We're on a lot of different branches out of the entire mind map right now. Speaking of mind maps, I love mind maps. Guys, it's like that episode in Sex Education where Amy is like talking to doofus boyfriend about mind maps. Does she tell him to create a mind map or does she tell... I feel like she's always... No. She's talking to good doofus boyfriend about mind maps. She's talking to that one guy about mind maps who's like a nerd and jacked. Steve! Oh my god, what a man. Sorry. Steve actually is not really attractive to me, to be honest. But like he's so slay. He's such a little nerdy boy, and when he talks to, oh my god, when he talks to Amy, is it Amy? Is it Amy? Come on, it's got to be Amy. It's got to be. It is Amy, and the actress's name is also Amy. There's something about that makes me so happy when an actress's name or an actor's name is the same name as the character they play. That just makes me very happy. Like in Licorice Pizza, her name is Alana. Her name in real life is Alana, and her character's name is Alana, and it's really cool. Alana Haim plays an Alana Kane, and they're both spelled the same. Same with the Amy's. The Amy's are both spelled Aimee, not Amy, Aimee, and it's beautiful. Licorice Pizza is an interesting movie. I don't really have many thoughts on it except Bradley Cooper's in it, and I didn't even realize that was Bradley Cooper. But of course that was Bradley Cooper. Who else would that be but Bradley Cooper? That's why I was like, he looks kind of familiar, but it's Bradley freaking Cooper, bro. Bradley Cooper in everything, please. And then farming just means seeking. I actually think the real like term was maladaptive dopamine seeking, not maladaptive dopamine farming, but I don't know. It just means the same thing. You know, instead of engaging in all these maladaptive dopamine activities, seeking activities, I want to be engaging with the arts, with real art, whatever you call that, and philosophy. And like I was reading this philosophy book like at the start of the year, I think, and I was just reading and it was so fascinating. And I want to get into philosophy. I want to get into art. I want to get into, but it's also like once you get into philosophy, it's like say goodbye to joy and happiness. But maybe I could use the philosophy about joy and happiness to like try and restore some of it. But like philosophy is so interesting. I just want to know everything about it. I just want to dance with the ballet. I just want to know everything about it. And I want to know about music theory. I want to know about color theory. I want to know about composition. I want to know about all these things, and I want to actually absorb all the information, and I want to shred my doubt away, because it is the biggest like actual barrier to anything in the world is the doubt that you have in yourself. And I need to zip the voice away because it's the voice that I grew up with, and it's just like, could you please stop? The lecturer, which is Clara's reading voice, is actually speaking, and you are being very disruptive and unhelpful. And I need that voice to go, and then exit, and then set itself on fire. Not useful. Don't like that voice. Don't want to hold it up to the light. I want it to burn and shrivel, because it's very unhelpful to the rest of me that wants to thrive. Because I want to thrive, okay? And I don't need this voice in the back of my head that's like, I don't understand what's going on. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm stupid and you're all useless and you're like faking it. And everything you're learning right now isn't gonna matter. And nothing you say or think matters at all. And nothing matters. And for that fact, so guys, why don't we all just give in to nihilism? And this is the thing, I want to know more about nihilism. I want to know more about
all of these things so I can like refute when people say something ballistic. When someone says something that's like, I know what you've just said is stupid, but I can't say anything because you've read the Bible and I haven't. Not to mention how Christians like not main, but one of the arguments that they have against like you not believing in it is like, well, you haven't read the Bible, but if you did read the Bible, then you'd probably find it to be true. There are many things I could say against that, but it's like, it's also very hard to like argue with a Christian because like I don't want to hurt anyone, right? But the problem is so many Christians tie and it's probably not just Christians, it's probably, this goes for probably a lot, if not all religions, but where so much of your belief is tied to your identity. So any attack at that belief feels like an attack at your identity. And I just don't want to do that. So I just kind of stay silent sometimes because it's like, well, look, I'm interested in seeking the truth and I'm interested in having these conversations respectfully. And just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I'm inherently correct also. But I do think it's important to call out certain things when you don't think they are true, or when you think that they're misinformed. And if I'm misinformed, then I can't really call out anything that's misinformed, even though I have little bits in the back of my corners of my mind of like, I kind of like have an idea about this and I kind of know what you're saying. But it's like, I'm suddenly like, no. Like I had a teacher once say to me, or like the whole class, like, if you are agnostic, you are a Christian. And basically said that anything except for nihilism and atheism is Christianity. I think that was like the most of it. And I was like, hold on. No. You can, first of all, let me just, I don't know, think of one example off the top of my head. Alex O'Connor, who's who's an agnostic atheist. I would probably define myself as an agnostic atheist. Like, I'm inclined to be like, nah, fam. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't fucking know. Guess what? I don't know. And the fact that that was like considered a branch of Christianity, I'm like, how did you get that so wrong? Like, I don't know. But this is a woman who's like who's like studied and like has multiple degrees. But this is the thing: you can have multiple degrees and still have approached every single one of those degrees with your own bias, and not actually have like learnt the truth, but just have your own bias about all of those. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you're more well informed than many others, but I don't think that inherently makes you everything you say gospel. I just don't. And I think it's important to just doubt people. A lot of Christians that I've talked to find it very disrespectful when you disagree with what they say, or when you have a different opinion, or like, you know, try and refute something they believe. It's like, that's so disrespectful. You don't respect my beliefs. And I'm like, no, I do, but you aren't respecting mine, actually. Why are my beliefs as an agnostic atheist less valid than yours and less respectable than yours? Because a lot of, and I'm not saying this isn't, okay, a lot of atheists are very like, I don't care about the Bible and I don't want to care and I don't want to read it, and that is also fine. If the Bible is not available to someone, right? If someone is like, I don't know, this isn't my example. I think Alex O'Connor came up with this. I consume a lot of Alex O'Connor media, okay? I think if someone is a mother with a single mom with, I don't know, 4 kids and a full-time job. Sorry, but she's not going to have any time to read the Bible. So how the hell is she supposed to, like, she's at a disadvantage than someone who's rich, who has all the free time in the world to, you know, go to church, to engage with their Christian community, to read their Bible, to not just read their Bible, but fully like dissect it and understand it and connect with it. That person is at a disadvantage from knowing the word of the Lord and, like, you know, having a better chance of getting into heaven. How is that fair? That's just one, like, how is that fair that, like, to no fault of their own, right? That's something that's external to their control. But, like, I'm not gonna not be friends with someone just because they're Christian. Of course I'm not. Many of my friends are Christian and I love them. So I think so many of my closest friends, I think more than half of my closest friends are Christian, or close to half, if not more than half, like around half, I'd say.
And so I don't know, and I don't want them to not be Christians, right? Like I find that if that's a, you know, part of their life, that what right do I have to say no, you know, or like, so why is my belief less valid than that? You know, why do I have to be convinced otherwise? Why does anyone have to be convinced otherwise? It's not, it shouldn't be the responsibility of, like, I think it's completely fine to just not want to engage in that and just go on with your life. I think that's completely fine. I don't know how I got to this again, but these are the things. I want to be able to engage with these mediums so I can properly talk about them and properly, you know, think about them, read about them, and have more in-depth, nuanced opinions about them. God, I hate the buzzwordery of the internet. Does anyone want to hear me talk about more about dopamine? But then it's like, if I want to read the Bible, why do I not, like, should I also then want to read the Quran and like all sacred text ever? By the way, refutal back to Christians who say you just need to read the Bible. Okay, well, you need to read every single sacred text in history then, so you fully know that your one is the correct one, right? Like, I would love to get more into Eastern religion, Hinduism and Buddhism. Hinduism is very like, sometimes though, the whole hierarchy thing. I don't know much about it at all. Like, what is it? Oh my god, come on, think of it. I don't want to look it up. I just want to remember what it's called. It's the caste system. So you've got the Sudras at the bottom, which is the farm workers, the unskilled, the workers, the servants. Farm workers, unskilled workers, servants. You've got the Vaishyas. Sorry about my pronunciation, it's been a while. Which is the merchants, the craftsmen, the landowners, and the skilled workers. You've got the Kshatriyas, kings, rulers, and warriors, and then you've got the Brahmins, which are the priests, basically, of Hinduism. And then you've also got the Dalits, which are also called the untouchables, which are people like the street sweepers, the human animal waste removers, the dead body handlers, and the outcasts. And this is all, look, I have not done substantial research on this, so do take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. This is just from my study of religion class in grade 11, 12. But basically, Hinduism is, this is like kind of their fundamental structure for society, and it basically, I think it's determined by what family you're born into, and it's basically like, you know, they believe in a cyclical worldview where like you're born, you are reborn, and you're reborn and reborn and reborn again until you reach not nirvana. Samsara is rebirth, the cycle of samsara. Well, anyway, whatever it is, which is like the ultimate when you aren't reborn again, because you know, through Hinduism, life is suffering basically, and if you're reborn again, it's because you have committed your karma, your karmic balance is off. I'm getting the terms mixed up because I know there are there's different terminology between Hinduism and between Buddhism. But basically, I'm so sorry, I'm definitely getting a lot of this mixed up. It's been too long, some 2-3 years or something. Solely two actually. I probably had my external exam maybe even exactly 2 years ago. It was on a Thursday, 2023. But basically, you have a lot of karma. You have good karma and bad karma. I'm definitely getting this mixed up with Buddhism, I'm sorry. But they have a similar kind of view with this where like, oh, I'm so mad. What is Okay, it's moksha, which is it's the utmost aim of human life. The other three aims are dharma. Ooh, so I'm just reading Wikipedia now. Me when Wikipedia is the new like I will read this instead of reading like the AI overview where it was used to be like I'll read the scholarly article instead of reading Wikipedia. This is called the dumbing down of society, everybody, or whatever it is, like the dumbification of it all. I don't remember. There's like an actual word for it. There's like a buzzword for it. But moksha is the utmost desire for human life. It's a liberation from. I'm reading the AI overview because it's just giving me what I need to know. It's the liberation from the cycle of death, rebirth, also known as samsara, and is considered the ultimate goal of life, of human life, basically. And if you're reborn, and if you are, you know, one of the lowest in society, if you're a Sudra, then that basically means to Hindus that you committed a long life. Your previous life was one of, you know, unethical behavior. And we also studied ethics in religion. and like, what was the ethical framework of Hinduism? It's all making so much sense now, and it's so much more interesting. Like, I wish I was more interested in this when I was looking into it way back when this was like my assignments and stuff, instead of just like, oh, why am I looking into like utilitarianism and virtue ethics? This is so boring. Whereas that's like so interesting. So the ethics in Hinduism is rooted, I'm reading AI again, is rooted in concepts like dharma, which is righteous duty. So your dharma is your righteous duty. And I think it depends it on your it's like according to your societal like what your caste is. Okay. So if you're a Brahmin, Kshatriya, like what's the dharma of Brahmins? To be scholars, teachers, spiritual guides focusing on the study of Vedas, of the Vedas, which I think is their sacred text, performing religious ceremonies, living a life of purity, discipline, and self control. Like, it'll be different for each caste. Like, if I go Dharma for Kshatriyas, a code of duties and righteousness centered on protection, justice, and virtuous leadership. Oh, this was honestly probably the most interesting subject ever. It was all about like humanities, and like we actually looked at real life like things that are going on. Like, what was the war in Myanmar, the Myanmar war between, I think it was Islam and Hinduism. That was like, and it was a religious war, and like how this was such an interesting, oh my god, I would be so much more into this if I was doing it now than when I was bloody 18. Like, oh, I'm so mad. Like, we looked into why did, like, I think we looked into both sides of the war and how those sides saw what they were doing as ethical based on their ethical framework that was outlined in their religion. And it just so fascinating, like, how because of their different ethical frameworks, like, these people thought this was right because they were protecting this, belief or this, value, whereas this side had this value, and so they thought they were right because of this. And it's like, wow, me when religion is the hashtag problem. Anyway, so the Dharma of Vaishyas consists of duties relating to agriculture, trade, and animal husbandry. What is animal husbandry? The science of breeding and caring for farm animals. Right. What was the Dharma of Sudras? Service and labor, agriculture, trades, skilled crafts to support the other castes. So it's very like, not, it's a very unequal society, let's just say that. Extremely disparate in the equality. And then don't even get me started, Dalits. Like, basically, if you were of lower societal rank, you would have been looked at, or you are looked at as in Hinduism as, this is also just based on what I've learned, everyone, could be wrong. I've not actually been to India, and I've not actually been around, Hindus and stuff, so can't speak from a place of actual humanitarian understanding or experience, just from, the things that I was told in school. Dharma of Dalits, I actually don't even know if because they're kind of not looked at as a part of the caste system, like, but they're the street sweepers, human animal waste removers, like dead body handlers. Like, they are outcast. I don't even think they're considered like a part of society. Like, they're untouchables. I don't even think they're considered like, I don't know if they can even, in the eyes of Hindus, be like reach moksha. Is it moksha? Yeah, I don't think they can even reach moksha in their soul. What's the name of the soul? It's basically, you've got your body, right? But then you've got like your soul, which is the thing that like goes throughout all of your lifetimes. Your Atman. Atman? I'm like, me when I remember. Oh my god. But basically, like, I don't even think their Atman can like reach, in the eyes of Hinduism, moksha. Why did I even start talking about Hinduism? I don't remember. But basically, I think I was just talking about how it's not a very equal societal structure. Buddhism is so lovely. Let's just have a look at like fundamentals of Buddhism. I think Buddhism was my favorite, to be honest. Rebirth. The only thing about the Eastern sort of view of like rebirth, and the issue with rebirth is like, well, our population has actually grown substantially and continues to. So like, where do all of those new Atmans, like souls, come from? Are there new ones, or are there consistent ones throughout time, or is there, like, I don't know if they actually have an explanation for this. I think one explanation I've heard is that the souls split. So your Atma might split to become two, and that's how you get how the population has gone from, I don't know, what was the world population 100 years ago? 2 billion, right? How did we go from 2 billion Atman to 8 billion? How did we, like, how did they duplicate? Or did we get new ones? I don't know. This is me actually genuinely asking because I'm sure they do have an explanation for that. Maybe that's a very naive, like, question for me to ask. But it's one that I've seen a lot of people ask where they're like, well, there's actually this problem with rebirth. Like, how do Buddhists explain population growth? Second one right there. The concept of rebirth, which persists that consciousness is not fixed and can be reborn into different forms across countless realms. See, like, let's go on reddit.com. Reddit.gov. Genuine question, I mean no disrespect for asking this. Let me just say, it's really interesting how differently people approach religious conversation based on what religion they're talking about. Like, people will go towards Christianity full balls, like, fire, flame guns ready out, like, I'm coming for you bitches. But then it's like any discussion around, like, Eastern religions where they've not had any exposure in their life to it. They're like, so I, like, just want to actually ask this question about this, like, thing because I'm actually genuinely curious. Whereas Christians are like, you're dumb. It's like, I don't know. Maybe people, and I'm not saying I'm, like, innocent to this either, but, like, maybe we should, I don't know, approach things with more consistency, maybe. If you're gonna flame one religion as an atheist, maybe bring that energy elsewhere, but also maybe not, because context matters, right? Like, for example, you might have been raised a Christian, you might know everything there is to know about Christianity and be like, no, I'm totally against that, I don't believe in it at all. And then you might look at Eastern religions and you're like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about, so I'm just, like, not gonna come out with, like, my flame guns. I'm gonna put those safely away. Gonna put the flamethrower away, put it to bed, empty the gas from that. I'm gonna just deactivate that one real quick as I come with on my knees, on my hands and knees, and ask you this question. If reincarnation occurs, how does Earth's human population grow? Surely the population would be expected to decrease due to people reaching nirvana. What are Buddhist views on the creation of new life? So yes, nirvana is like the moksha of Buddhism. So moksha, Hinduism, nirvana, Buddhism. Like, they have different terminology for everything. They both also have karma, but they mean different things based on the religion. Okay, here's someone's actual response, which I'm really interested and excited to learn about. I don't know how we got here, but we're here. Beings come into the human realm from other realms such as animal realm and spirit realms. The total population of the universe doesn't ever increase or decrease. Migration occurs, that's all. And then someone responded, the population does increase, albeit very slowly. A few individuals attain enlightenment. Is that right? Infinity minus one is still infinite, which also means there are infinite Buddhas. Just the density between enlightened versus unenlightened beings changes. That's really, really interesting. Again, interesting how I look at... No, this is the thing, like, I feel like I still look at, like, Christianity and Christian views as, like, interesting. Maybe just not as interesting. To be honest. Maybe that's because I've been raised around that, so I'm like, oh, been there, done this. Been here, done this. Have the t-shirt. But then, like, this is all very new to me, like Buddhism and Hinduism and stuff. I'm like, ooh, I've not heard of this before, and it's just fun. I know this video gets flamed a lot, actually, by, I think, The Egg by Kurzgesagt is, like, one of their most, if not their most, like, famous YouTube video ever. If you haven't watched it, I really highly recommend you watch it, but I think I've seen it get cancelled a couple times because it's like, I think people were saying, like, you literally stole this from, like, I think they stole it from Buddhism, but they stole it, or no, they might have even stolen it from, like Abrahamic, is that, oh my god, literally, help, I don't know what I'm saying. Never mind, I was right. I need to stop doubting myself so hard. Abrahamic religion, like Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. It might have even been from Islam, I think. I don't think it was from Judaism or Christianity, but I like, let me just look it up. The idea that all humans are one soul reincarnating through every person. I swear it's based on religion, like Hinduism and Buddhism. A theory is not based on a single religion, but shares similarities with Hinduism and Buddhism. I think it's so much more interesting to learn about theories like the egg and take on that sort of worldview of like connectivity and like reincarnation and I think that's so much more interesting than anything that Christianity has to offer, to be honest. And I don't know much about Islam or Judaism, so I apologize. This is why I want to read about these things because they really interest me and I really love hearing people have conversations about them and I want to engage in those conversations, but I can't meaningfully do so really and be taken that seriously unless I've read about it and can actually back myself because unfortunately if you argue with, and I'm not saying every Christian or every religious person is like this, but I find many times if you try and argue or have a conversation with a person, like a religious person, about the religion that they believe, anything you kind of say isn't taken as seriously because you haven't done as much research as they have into it. Usually, I don't really know what I'm saying. I feel like I was trying to say something and I just kind of lost it. So I'm just gonna let that one go. But I just find this so much more interesting, to be honest. And I found that in school as well. Like, I'd be way more interested learning about Hinduism and Buddhism than I'd be learning about Christianity and Islam and Judaism. So, and I wish that we could have more open discussions about religion, to be honest, without people's egos getting hurt. To be honest. No, the population doesn't increase every time someone becomes awakened and enters. Whoa, what is that? That is a new term I've not seen before. Parinibbana or parinirvana, the release from the cycle of rebirth and suffering that occurs at the death of a fully enlightened being such as the Buddha. Oh, yeah. Okay, no, that makes sense. Complete cessation of attachment, karma, and the 5 skandhas. Distinct from nirvana, the liberation attained during life. No, what? I thought they were just the same thing. I actually trust Reddit more than AI, honestly. Even though AI gets all of its sources from Reddit, I trust Reddit more. Parinirvana means full nirvana, but they're essentially synonyms. However, there is more than one type of parinirvana. No, the population doesn't decrease every time someone becomes awakened or enters parinirvana, which is going to say nirvana at this point. And nor does it increase if people are really lazy and stupid and fail to awaken and enter their parinirvana. Nor does it say stay unchanging either. None of these things apply. Okay, I see, thank you. So has the same life always existed in one form or another? Beings have been wandering in samsara since beginningless time, taking rebirth as one thing or another thing. Before this universe, there was another universe, and karma from that previous universe is what started the life in this one. So cool. Like, I don't believe this, but it's really interesting. Like, it's very interesting to see how different cultures have developed or discovered whatever different religions and like how is it that places that like India, for example, like how is it that so many different places around the world came up with completely vast ideologies and different distinct like vastly different ideologies and religions. Like how did that come to be? Like I how is it that like I just find it really interesting how a different culture and different context paves the way for different beliefs and different humanitarian beliefs. This is one thing which Brittany talked about in her video that I just watched. It's like there's this human need that's to connect with something beyond, something that's not just on this earth, and something we can't see, something we can't engage with or interact with, some sort of desire, yearning, whatever you want to call it, to something that's out there, right? And that's like, I think, that and consciousness are the biggest sort of like atheism, the biggest things that are like, well, you can't explain this, and this is like pretty significant. Like you can look at all the historical evidence and look at all of the the facts of it all, to be honest. And you can look at all of that, but when it comes down to like right now, what we're wanting to, like what we're experiencing inside of ourselves, but like you can call it neurons firing, you can call it uh chemical phenomenon, whatever you, but and that's fine as well, by the way. But it's also like it doesn't fully explain it. It's one of our weaker points, I think, as atheists, which is why I'm agnostic atheist, because that's a very good point. And I'm not saying I believe in the Christian God. I'm not saying I believe in any God in particular or gods. But I'm not denying that there could be some sort of spiritual like thing out there, call it the universe or whatever, that's like beyond us, that's like not in control of us, but more or less a creator of us, or a not guide, but like a watcher. I can't think of the word for a watcher, like a guide, I don't know, like an observer, or an observer of us, right? Like, of course I can't deny that. Just like you can't deny that you don't actually know. And these are things I wish I knew more about and wish I could really get. But it's also like, I like to have some mystery in my life, you know? I kind of like not having all the answers. What if I did have all the answers? Would I be like so much more boring? Of course, I would never have all the answers though. Having more answers just leads to more questions, in my experience. But it's like, ugh, I'm just really craving more and learning more. But like, I'll end this video and I'll probably go watch TikTok. Get me out. Like, I just want to throw my phone into the ocean at the end of the day. And I just want to start living life. But then it's like, maybe I am. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I don't need to worry that I'm like not doing it right, or that things are just crumbling around me, or I don't have it all together. Because of course I don't have it all together. Of course I don't know what I'm doing day by day. But I just kind of wish there was more of a distinct objective to my day by day life and existence. I wish there were checkpoints that I was like going for at a specific time, but I just don't feel like there are. And I think maybe that's healthy and okay for me to be experiencing this when I'm 20 years old. And probably at any age, it's fine. Like if you're 50 and you're like, first of all, why are you watching this video? I'm joking. If you're 50, slay. As long as you're not being weird about it. Thanks. But you could be 50 and having these realizations. You could be 80 and, or like not realizations, but this like type of experience with life where you're just feeling a bit lost and futile. I do feel very futile a lot of the time. Okay, folks. I think that's me. I'll see you later. That was a good one. I'm gonna edit that. I'm gonna edit the shit out of that.